The broadcast is live. Good morning, CMR world. We are Blake and Aaron. Good day.
I said good day.
I said good day. I shall have a sip of coffee. Cheers to you. Cheers to you in the morning. Aaron is drinking caramel coffee.
I am, but there's none in it. I do need some. Are we going to play this song?
We are going to play this song.
Okay.
Yes. You want to get a little sample of that? Yes, this is a good song.
There we are.
It's Maroon 5.
We are taking over.
Memories right now on Kiss FM. Blake and Aaron. See, I posted that song.
Oh, yeah. We are.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. Hey, good morning. Oh, I'm sorry. This is your show.
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. So, a bit of news this morning. The Department of Environment made a big bus.
We're not live.
We're not live yet.
We're not live yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said
we're just babbling about.
You really need to.
We're live on this end, so
yeah.
We need you to get with the program, Sandy.
I know you were confusing me just a tad there. I'm like, we're live, okay.
I know he's a confusing person to follow. It takes 10 years to figure it out. I'm joking. I'm trying to book an appointment for my child.
You should be approved by now.
Mm-hmm.
I am. No, I'm trying to book a pediatrician appointment for my youngest who had a croup cough last night, which is so fun. Never ends. Never ends. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, is what it is.
All right, playing a little song right now. Maroon 5.
I'm used to we don't get blocked on this end.
You won't get blocked as long as it's not more than 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
It's ridiculous with all these.
It's 20 seconds, yeah.
That's a good long time.
Yeah. All these rules, trying to keep it.
Might be 10. Anyway.
Facebook.
It's just teasing. Just teasing Facebook. I know Facebook's going, okay, all right. He stopped.
You know, it's all automated. Like it's all artificial intelligence now that does it, which is kind of weird because what ends up happening is it literally killed. Like I've forgotten about it. You know, you're like in the mood, you're in a show and you're doing something. All of a sudden you play a song. The last time the minister was on, he's like, oh yeah, I've got this new song. And then, you know, this is going to be my community song and whatever. And we're like, oh, great. And we play it. And all of a sudden I see my numbers go from like 350 people to 10 or whatever was on YouTube at the time. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Right in the middle of the stream. Like they don't even care.
Well, maybe they just
cut you off right there.
Maybe they didn't like the
segment. They literally kill your feed. And then they, you know, later on they say, oh, okay, we'll release it. Yeah. The license holder doesn't have a problem. I'm like, really? It is a little frustrating.
All right. Well, let's go live on Kiss. Stand by.
All right.
Here we go. Bring back you.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
K-Man's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Well, good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Blake and Aaron, and everyone else. How are you?
We are well on a Thursday. Fantastic. What is happening in the world of news?
Yes, so quite a bit going on. The Department of Environment is warning the public to make sure that you know what the marine laws are, that you know where marine reserves are located. This comes after they've arrested and charged 4 men with several offenses in a marine reserve named Rum Point Canal last Wednesday. So they've confiscated a Honda CRV, which the men were using, and a boat. So
they were poaching or fish?
What was the offense?
Oh my gosh, they were taking all sorts of stuff. So they had 51 fish of various variety. And you know what? Some of them were like 8 inches, like they were small.
Yeah, they take it to that's not right. You're not going to have any more fish if you people don't follow the laws.
It's just crazy.
Ridiculous.
Well, that's why you get arrested.
Well, yeah. And then they had, they went over the limit with some things, lobsters. They actually took lobsters with spear guns from a marine reserve. So the biggest problem is they were not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be shot.
You can't take anything from a marine reserve.
Yeah,
exactly. So you can't be in a marine reserve.
And are they allowed to have a spear gun?
Well, they were using that for the lobster.
Well, I think that you have to be authorized to use a spear gun though,
Exactly.
to fish here.
You do.
So, yep. So they're unlicensed spear gun taking.
Yeah, and even then, it's hard to get a spear gun if you were trying to cull lionfish.
It is. I know.
Because Dion went through the whole lionfish culling course, but was never
issued one.
Never given a spear gun, or no one ever heard about it. Huh. Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that boat.
Yeah. So I'm taking lobster above the daily limit. I'm taking fish under 8 inches. That's just crazy. I don't know who these guys were, but they are not the smartest.
You see a lot of people out there, though, trying to get little fish like that. And either they put it in stews, maybe, or they're using it for fishing for bigger
Other
fish.
Oh, okay.
As bait, but still, you can't take anything from a marine.
That's the first. Yeah, if they started there, they would have been A-okay.
Like, I mean, and also, you just need to realize that, yes, maybe you love fish. Everyone, that likes to eat fish. You will never get to eat another fish if we overfish and don't follow like the conservationists that put these laws in place for a reason.
So good words, Aaron.
So yes, you can get in trouble, and if you see someone actively poaching, feel free to call 911. It's that important. And the Department of Environment Conservation officers can also be reached at 916-4271. So yeah, we've all got to work hard to protect the environment, because we only get one shot at this, folks. So, some people just don't get it.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I'd like to know, I know Guy Harvey does a lot with shark conservation. So I'd like them to go out and maybe talk to all the fishermen that go out on their boats. Because a lot of them, the big fishermen, that have the bigger boats, I'll go and they'll maybe a shark's around. They have no problem killing sharks and just throwing them back in. I've heard stories from their mouths talking to them. And it's a lack
of education.
That's what it is. There needs to be an education. Like Guy Harvey is all about education. You think that maybe they'd start a program where they could go around to the fishing boats and just say, "Hey, this is what they're doing. Maybe don't. Here's another way to get the sharks away, as opposed to just killing them."
Yeah, and it'll honestly, I think that a lot of people grew up believing that the ocean is limitless, and that's clearly not the case. And we rely.
I think you're assuming that people care.
And that's the other problem is I think that people care about, the world as much.
Yeah. And I think that they need to be retrained in their brain to understand why they should care. Because we can have buy-in into conservation projects, including marine life, by letting people know how it impacts their lives in a real way. We destroy the ocean, it's going to be a real problem for us. We can't just go and grab another ocean off the shelf at the grocery store. So I think once you start to break it down, like, here's how this is going to impact your life. And some people are already seeing it in terms of, just some of the lobster and stuff that they're able to get. They've diminished in size and, bounty over the years. So we gotta get it together, and we don't have a whole lot of time.
Nope. If everyone in the world would just not fish 2 years, could we get away with 2 years? Maybe we could replenish everything and then start anew. But that will never happen.
All right, Sandy, anything else?
Yes, we do have the Department of Agriculture also sending out, my apologies, an appeal yesterday after a dog carcass was found in Barker's area. They're just asking for people to, contact them or your local vet if you're not sure how to actually dispose of animals. There's a proper way to do it. And so if you know who may have done that, please contact the Department of Agriculture. They would like to, I suppose, educate those individuals or individual. Jamaica's received over 600,000 Pfizer vaccines from France. So this is part of the COVAX program that they are a part of. And it's really interesting because I'm pretty sure Jamaica's actually had to throw away and wasted, vaccine.
Vaccination rate.
I think you shouldn't get any more vaccines. I think it can go to other countries that are desperate.
That haven't wasted it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But regardless, they got almost 650 additional doses of the Pfizer vaccine from France. And it's the first of 2 donations that they will be receiving from a chartered flight. So we'll see what they do with it this time. Unfortunately, Jamaica still remains pretty low when it comes to their vaccination numbers. I haven't checked this week, but they were hovering like around 10%. which
Yeah,
is just
low.
absolutely ridiculous. And over 70% of their population is walking around with COVID. So every single person I knew actually that went to Jamaica for the holidays came back, and within several days, they all tested positive.
Wow.
So that shows you how rampant it is there. I mean, we think we got.
And I'm guessing Cayman won't allow that anybody that's unvaccinated from Jamaica to come here, right?
Well, they come in, and
Or you'd have to quarantine for 14 days.
yeah, but Caymanians are also going to Jamaica.
Yeah, no, I know, I get that.
Yeah, a lot.
I just mean it's going to make it harder to travel anywhere when you're unvaccinated. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know if you guys heard about this Tinder swindler. He was all over the news apparently. So there's
I've been on Tinder in a while.
Yeah.
Actually, I've never been on Tinder, to be honest with you.
Been on my friend's
neither have I. I was the. Have you ever been on a dating app before?
No.
There's never been a dating app since I've been single.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
Never had a problem.
Yeah.
Never needed.
It was like Match.com back.
I
back
did.
when I was
Yeah.
single.
No, I'll tell you which one I did.
Farmers.com. Farmers only.
Farmers only.
Farmer. Oh my gosh. No, I tell you, I did the.
I mean, we would.
You were on a dating app, Sandy?
Yeah. What's the one called that is like matches personalities and
Match.com.
Match.com. I don't know.
I mean, Aaron and I, we would find dates down at the ye old Fighting Cocks.
That's where now that place is going into.
Yeah.
It's not Match.com. It's another one that's a little bit more. They have a formula. I remember the old man used to do the commercials.
Yes.
Anyway,
Singles only. I don't know.
No.
Or was that Ashley Madison, where if you were married, you could go to on Ashley Madison?
You know what? The most interesting thing about that one is that they legit made you do this personality test, and it was really, really, really
eHarmony.
eHarmony. There you go.
That's
yes.
right.
Are they still around?
Forgot about
Yeah,
that.
they're still.
Yeah, they were very interesting.
They're the OG.
I was gonna say they were the original.
They were the
eHarmony.
OG.
How could we forget about them? They were the MySpace of Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy Simon, I think it's pronounced Leviv or Leviv or I don't know. Anyway, he's the subject of a new Netflix documentary. Apparently, a lot of women are watching the documentary and they're going, "Wow!"
I saw that preview.
Amazing at what he
Haven't seen it
did.
yet.
Yeah, so he swindled literally women out of approximately $10 million. And he's now known as the Tinder swindler because he was using the dating app to do so.
Just swipe left. Is it left or right?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You got mail.
Okay, now we're going to the 90s.
So this is he's an Israeli. He did this between 2018 and 2019, so he moved pretty quickly. And it's kind of crazy because he's been asked to compensate his victims only $43,000. I don't know how that's going to help, but he served 5 months of a 15-month sentence in jail. And now, they've made this documentary about him on Netflix, and it is like the hottest thing. Everybody's like, "You gotta watch this."
What's it called?
Tindler.
Oh, it's just called the Tinder Swindler. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that now.
Yeah.
I'm on. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
It's in my list.
So what's crazy is he's
guy
actually been banned from a lot of dating apps now as a result of this.
Well, yeah.
So they're like, but how you get? What if he sets up a new email address, and how are you gonna know it's him? I don't know. I feel like he could work around that ban really easily.
I mean, just go and look him up online. Make sure you know what he looks like, and then don't.
Yeah, I mean, he has several known aliases, but of course he could.
Listen, anytime you meet somebody, whether it's on an email, you get some sort of email asking you for money, just say no.
Yeah, if Mordecai Nisium Tapario contacts you, or Michael Bilton.
Red flag.
Michael Bilton is one of his other names.
Oh, nice.
Not Bolton, Bilton.
Anytime anybody asks you for money, red flag, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's involved in an entire Match group, which includes Plenty of Fish. I never knew there was such a dating app.
Oh, yes.
Match.com.
Yeah.
And OkCupid have all banned him. So we'll see how his dating life goes from here.
Okay, so in 2015, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison in Finland. So he's been doing this, for a while.
He's a fraudster.
Fraud for a long time.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He pretends to be uber rich, and apparently that gets people, that hooks them in, and then he steals their money.
Yeah. All right. So I am going to watch that Netflix documentary.
Yeah, it looks
There's
pretty
that,
good.
and then about the New York socialite who said she was like a princess, and I've been following that story
Oh,
forever.
yeah, I've heard about her.
I read about that story forever, like I feel like 5 years ago or
Yeah.
something, and now they're doing a documentary
That's
about
good.
her. Yeah. So Anna or something.
All right, Sandy, we'll catch you tomorrow for the Friday show.
Hi, guys. Thank you. All right, folks. That's Blake and Aaron there. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I need to get some water. Okay, let me see. eHarmony. Yes, that was the one that I used to sign up for. And man, I got one. I still have my personality test. It was so detailed. Like, it's, if I ever need to date again, I just need to take out my personality test, hand it to the person, and say, read this. If they can't read or they won't read it, that'll be the first sign that you're not even in the runnings, honey. Okay, let's play our intro song and get this train on the road this morning. Good morning. You're listening to The Cold Hard Truth.
You're now tuned in to The Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Rise and shine. It is Thursday morning. Good morning, Miss Virtuous. Good morning to Marshall. Diamond Princess has got it locked. Olivia is joining us. Good morning, Olivia. Larry from New York is here. What's the weather like, Larry? Wee buenos dias. Tommy from the Bahamas. Damien's got it locked. Good morning. What happened to Spirit Guns? Well, you need to have it licensed. That's the one important thing. We've got, did I say good morning to Irvelyn already? No. Good morning, Irvelyn. Dawn is here. Good morning to you. How are you, my dear? Amiria's here. So good to see you. Miss Lisa is here. Buenos dias to Richard. He says, good morning, sunshine. Debbie, what's up? Debbie's here. Miss Janet also got it locked. And Louie joining us from Detroit, plus another 137 people. I feel like only a small percentage actually say good morning. Yes. What's the weather looking like? I just look out the window. I'm like, overcast, 20% chance of showers. We should probably look at the official weather sometimes. But it looks like a rainy day. So what is going on, folks? How are you guys? Wagwan. So, we're getting ready. March the 1st is going to be here before you know it. The end of the month, we should have access to the radio station. So I'm getting ready. We're doing the whole Bobo 89.1 FM. Some straight up tontos. Oh, crud. Look at that. One spilled my water. All right. Hold on one second. Let's play a little bit of music while I get this sorted out. Ay. All right, folks. My goodness, thank you for your patience. There's a reason why I do not normally have an open glass on the desk, because I always manage to knock it over. I've done it before, right? So, I reach for it and kaboom, it just falls right over. And I got a lot of wires here. I got electronics. So I'm just trying to wipe off Alexa, wipe off Facebook portal. Ugh, all this stuff, Jim. Make sure the mouse doesn't get wet. So yes, I was saying before I had my little accident that we want to make sure that we're tuned into the right place. So some people are all confused yesterday about how I'm supposed to be taking over 89.1. I mean, no, that's the right one, that I'm taking over 89.9. I said, listen, don't be getting all poor Radio Cayman all in the mix, because you guys know Radio Cayman is a government-owned radio station. And they have an afternoon talk show, and I think they still do the one with OC every 3 times a week, whatever. But, they're a government station. What we do here probably wouldn't be allowed in a government station. We're a little bit more of a spicier tea than they would be used to, chow. So this is a private DMS station, folks. So let's get the facts, spread the word. Those of you who believe in factual information, like we do here at CMR, help them figure it out. They just make up these narratives. Oh, Cece's her assistant. First of all, congratulations to Cece. She has long wanted a government job. And she finally got her government job. That's her dream. Everybody's got a different dream in life. Her dream hasn't really been to be on CMR, to be my assistant. Her dream is a government job. And I think I know exactly why, because Cece's got 4 kids. And so to be able to afford insurance, if you are in private sector, is going to be a pretty penny. Listen, health insurance ain't cheap, Yeah. Believe me, you. So, good morning to Barbara. So good to see you. Lady Jeever, is that how we're pronouncing that? Is joining us from New York. Thank you. I love my New York folks. I've only been to New York once, believe it or not. It's so strange, but when I lived in the States, I feel like I didn't travel enough because I was mostly a student. So, when I finished high school and then I went to university, I stayed in state to try to save some money, actually. And then we would travel a little bit around the state of Florida, but when you're a college student, you're poor, most of us. But I got to tell you, I worked in a private dorm for a couple years, and it was so interesting to see let me center myself a little bit here. It was so interesting to see the rich kids come from like New York and New Jersey. And boy, they were a little bit different. They would come and hang out by the pool all day. And I kind of thought to myself, are these kids actually in school? Like, are they here for an education, or what are they doing? And as a resident assistant, I would see them partying, and man, Friday nights were like party central at USF. Whew, our dorm, like we all had as a resident assistant, we had different, it was a 13-story building, and I think it's since been torn down. So this was many years ago as a private dorm, and I was in the 13th floor. So the 13th floor was largely for international students. And I guess they figured, me being from the Cayman Islands, I could probably relate to some of the international students, although I had spent most of my life at that point in Florida. But it was really interesting. I met a lot of very, very interesting people. There was an artist from France named Ludwig. We used to play tennis and stuff with him. He's a pretty cool guy. And there was the Arab guy next door who was like an Arab prince almost. His dad was a religious minister. He was very interesting. He came to America to sow his royal oats, trust me. And he found himself one little Colombian girlfriend, and it was hot. we would get in the elevator with them and it was like so steamy all the time, the chemistry. My boyfriend and I'd be like, we better slide over on the other side. Oh, it was just kind of weird sometimes. And she really felt hard for this guy. Like one time she's in the elevator crying because he was like, he'd only come with the intention of staying like a year or two to finish up a program, get some experience in America, work in his English. And then the intent was for him to go back home. Well, her intent was to marry him when she met him. This was like, ooh, he's the one. And I always thought to myself, that's a little bit weird because, sorry. I'm sure he told her exactly what the score was because he was very forthcoming with everything in a way. It was so funny because when he was looking into places to stay, he called on the phone late one Saturday night and I was working the night shift. He called like after 10 o'clock at night and I answered the phone. And he immediately is like, oh, you're so helpful. What's your name? I felt like I was going to get a marriage proposal. And then I basically said, you need to call the leasing office and whatever. And when he called the leasing office, he ensured that he was on my floor. And not only did he want to be on my floor, folks, but he wanted to be like right next door to me, which was a little bit weird. So when he showed up, he came bearing gifts, perfume and nuts and all kind of stuff. And I was like, sir, I can't accept these things from you. But thanks anyway. It was a wonderful thought. And then he was kind of like, will you date me? And I said, nope, got a boyfriend. Thanks anyway. He used to wear his pants a little too high for me. I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird. But anyway, you meet a lot of interesting people in university, trust me. It's one of the great things I think about university life is you really get to experience so much in a short space of time. You get to broaden your horizons. Probably like very few places in the world, the university environment, just captures a lot of people in a very small area. Good morning, Miss Dorothy. Good morning, James, joining us from Canada. Dalila, good morning. How are you? Rowena says, good morning, Sandy. Good morning, CMR. And good morning to the Cayman Islands. Dorothy loves that song. So do I. Our national song is amazing. And every time I hear it, it just warms my heart. And my daughter, too. She starts singing because she kind of knows the words. So she'll start like humming or singing, too, when she hears it. Miss Elizabeth, buenos dias. Hey, Catherine. Dawn is here. So good to see you. Omiria says, I can't see you. I'm here. All right. So we got a lot we want to talk about this morning. Flashpoint says every woman thinks that she has what it takes, what is needed to change and hold a man. I guess. I don't know. Because he was just there for a couple of years. The dude probably already had a wife or something back in the United Arab Emirates. But yeah, she was in love with him. All I know is he used to have a Toyota Celica. It was red. Bought a nice fancy red car as he got there. And I would say we just called him Al because he had some name. Like it was really like a long name. Nobody could pronounce it. Ala Kashib. We're like, he's like, you know what? Just call me Al. And I said, oh, thank you. That makes my life so much easier. A lot of international students, this is kind of funny, but there was a girl from Japan and a lot of international students would just Americanize their names or they would literally just pick a nickname. They're like, you know what? Just call me Mary. And I'd be like, okay, that works. So you didn't really have to butcher their real name. So in his case, because Al was in the name, Ala Kashib, blah, 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 he was like, just call me Al. And I said, perfect. So Al had this fancy red car, and that's how I learned to drive a stick shift. And to this day, it's one of those skills that I think everybody should learn how to drive a stick. And I'm so glad that I did. You never know when you're going to jump into someone's car. I don't find that a lot of people in Cayman actually have these vehicles. Most people just have, you put it in gear and you go. So there's no shifting of the gears at all. But I had one of my cars here, which was it's the same body and design as a Honda Integra, but it has a different name. which is weird. I think it depends on which market it's in. But anyway, that was a stick. And so I remember the lady who bought it from me when I bought my Honda CRV. Child, she claimed she knew how to drive a stick. But when I heard her grinding those gears, I was like, oh, you need to practice. And it does take a minute. I feel like if you haven't driven a stick in a while, I haven't driven one in many years. It probably takes a minute to kind of get back into it, right? Yeah. University life, what a time. But yeah, the sixth and seventh floor, where all the partiers were, man, you'd walk through those floors and the thickness of the smoke, you know what they were smoking, was unbelievable. Like I tried to avoid, because we had to work as a resident assistant, so we were responsible for floors. I had a partner who was on the other side. This guy, really cool guy. He was actually really, really good looking, and he had a lot of girls trying to chase him too. It was so funny. But anyway, he was my RA partner on the 13th floor. And I would always send him when we'd have to do our rounds, because 13th was the highest floor. And we had to take the stairs. Ooh, you run up and down all night. And so I would always send him to 6 and 7, because I'm like, well, I'm allergic to the smoke. You just go and check it out, make sure everybody's okay. They haven't smoked themselves to death. But literally the fogginess walking through the halls. And it was a little bit of a different environment because it was a private dorm. So a lot of rich kids were like dropping mommy and daddy's money to come and live in Fontana Hall, is what it was called. And they were just uber rich. They'd be hanging out by the pool all day, not going to classes. Some of them would disappear because they'd be failing and flunking out of school. And some of them were so leathery, like literally 10 o'clock in the morning. We're up, we're getting ready. We've had breakfast. We're, going to classes. They're out by the pool. I'm like, you do know there's a thing called skin cancer, right? We're just going to come knocking at your door at age 30 at this rate. But it was a super cool experience because it was a private dorm. We had like our own pool. We had our own gym. So these are some of the benefits as an RA for the work that we gave them. We got free room and board, so we could go use the gym. We, ate at the table. I'll never forget. This is kind of funny. Hey, Scott. There was a guy there, and he was a resident, a little bit country-ish. He was an RA. So we would sit at the same table together just to build like camaraderie and whatever, because we were coworkers basically. And this dude, it was so interesting. He would dip. You guys know what dip is, right? It's what is now I'm trying to explain it. I'm like, I know what it is in my head, but trying to explain it to you. Hold on. Tobacco. So he would dip tobacco is what we called it. I mean, not dipping chips or anything, right? I mean, I don't know what people call it now. Do people still do this? But they have the little tobacco, I guess it comes packed in a can, and he would take it and put it in his mouth. I mean, I always thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. So it's a way of having, it's a moistened, smokeless tobacco product that you literally just put in your mouth. And yeah, we just used to call it dip, but I guess because a lot of places you go and you can't smoke. Maybe this was the, what would you call it? This was what's the new fancy one that everybody's using now? The vape. Maybe this was the vape of the day. I don't really know, but it is a horrible and disgusting habit. And quite frankly, the chances of you developing like mouth cancers and all sorts of stuff like that is probably pretty high. So some of them come like in the packets, and it causes gum disease, tooth loss. But listen, when you're in university life and it's tooth discoloration, like it's a disgusting habit. But I guess he wasn't thinking about any of that stuff. Chewing tobacco in a can is basically what it is. Yeah. So he used to sit at the dining table. Like it was just the most bizarre thing. He would sit at the dining table and he would have his dip. Like he'd have 2 cups. He'd have his dip, and then he'd have a cup, because you'd have to actually, this is kind of disgusting, but you'd actually have to spit some of it out. And so he'd have a spit cup. And I kept saying to him, I'm like, one of these days, you're going to pick up the wrong cup, dude. And sure enough, the day came and I was sitting right there. Oh my God. We all had to, every single like we literally got up off the table and we're like, oh my God, you're going to make us all throw up our lunch. So, I think it might've been dinner time, but it was one of those moments where I said, I told you so. It was here it is. So I think they come like in different flavors and whatever, and people are into them. I don't know if they're still a thing. Do people still do this? I feel like everybody now is like vaping, like that's the latest crave. But you'll probably see a lot of baseball players. Like baseball players do it a lot. I don't really know why. They've actually banned it because it is a very, very crazy habit. So, and people have died, you know, from this. I mean, it causes cancer of the mouth and all kind of stuff. So it was actually banned in the 90s, in the early 90s, for use on the field by the basketball, the NCAA, and then the World Series. I think baseball might have eventually banned it as well. So I don't know what it is about athletes, but a lot of athletes actually did do it. But a lot of colleges and high schools, especially for like, you know, athletes at their universities, started to ban it as well. So listen to some of the stuff that it causes. Salivary gland cancer. This guy here, Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn, said he believed his habit of using smokeless tobacco caused the disease that took his life at age 54. No, it's a real thing. And the crazy thing is, they leave it in their mouths so long because it seems harmless. Like, you know, it's not going to impact me if I'm sitting next to them. So they don't feel like they're offending anyone else when they're using it. But it is still a pretty nasty habit. And I always wondered, I'm like, the dude probably has a girlfriend and she has to like kiss that tobacco mouth. That's like kissing a whole box of cigarettes. So yeah, nasty habit. You know, things come in and out of fashion, even with things like smoking products and that sort of thing. Anyway, university life, what a time. I tell you, I wouldn't take it back for anything, really. I know, Scott, right? Definitely not. Louis says he first learned to drive on a stick too. Well, that wasn't, was that my first car? No, that wasn't my first car. I did driver's ed. So I learned in high school on a regular car. And then my aunt used to, it was like driving Miss Daisy. It was driving Aunt Lottie. She needed to go to the grocery store. She's like, okay, you can drive me. I was like, yay. But I got my hours in. And you know, when you first learn to drive in the States, you don't want to do a lot of interstate driving because you're still like a little bit uncomfortable about the interstate. It's like everybody's moving fast and it's like you got to, you know, gun it and that sort of thing. So I always found that like taking her grocery shopping was pretty easy because, you know, we went to a grocery store that it was about 15, 20 minutes away, but I didn't have to take the interstate. Like I could go down the local road route. And so that was fine. And she was interested to drive though. Oh, watch out, be careful. Like she made me nervous driving. I'd be like, Aunt Lottie, can you just calm down here? I'm trying to focus. I'm holding on to the steering wheel. And she had a Chrysler. I don't know what kind of car it was, but it was a pretty big car. It was Chrysler or something. And I was like, just calm down. I got to make sure you're running over the curb. I'm like, did I kill the curb? Nobody's dead. What a time, I tell you. So my first car was a Toyota Escort. Do you remember things like what your first car was? And so I had this little white Toyota Escort, and it was like an interesting car because I discovered one day that I could pull the key out of the ignition, lock the car and leave the car running. Like I didn't have to turn it off. It had a little bit of quirk with the, I guess the key area where I could just pull it out and it was keep running. So when I had my dog, Oscar, not really being fully conscious as a pet owner, Oscar wanted to go everywhere with me. So I would take him all over the place. And if I had to make a quick run in the store, I would leave him locked in the car with the AC on. Now I know that probably still wasn't a good idea, because what if the AC stopped working, or, thank God nothing ever happened. But Oscar was an amazing, funny dog. Like, we'd be driving and he'd want to sit like in the front seat, because he was very nosy. So he'd be like checking stuff out. And then when he saw a big truck coming, he would duck. Like the I don't know visually what he was seeing, but he saw this big semi coming. He'd get down and duck. And then he'd be like, okay, is it gone? And he'd come back out. Anyway, enough about me reminiscing about the good old days. What's going on in the Cayman Islands? Well, did you guys see this story? A few people sent it to me yesterday about Frank Schilling wanting to go up 20 stories. Boy, I don't know what kind of tea Frank been drinking, but something ain't right with this story. The Compass ran the story, and Frank says, he owns a building. I think he has at least two buildings in town. He's acquiring quite a bit of real estate. And so Frank has this idea that we need to go up to 20 stories. Well, I don't know who told Frank this was a good idea, but I've not met anybody who really likes this idea at all. They're like, listen, this is ridiculous. Like, we already feel like we've been run over by a lot of investors and that sort of thing. So Frank owns the building. It's called Monaco Towers, I believe, right across from the courthouse. It used to be the old CNB building. Like, CNB used to be in there. And who else? I think there was another bank in there before CNB. Was it FCIB? Somebody else was there a long time ago. The law school, I think, is still in that building. So Frank has a lot of plans. He is, a lot of people say he's a new Dart. I'm not sure if that's if CIBC, thank you. I'm not sure if that's the right analogy for him or not. Because, you can have a lot of money and you can be really, really rich. But then Dart rich is a different level of rich. You know what I'm saying? That's some big bucks. So I don't know that Frank has that kind of money. This is him, Frank, and Jason Brown from the Celebrations folks. So I don't know. And I think Jason has a construction company or something as well. So I don't know if Frank has that kind of money, but Frank is okay. He's got all kind of fast cars, and he travels by private jet, and he lives a lifestyle that probably most people can only dream about. He owns the .ky domain. So if you buy a .ky, that's him. And he got into his business doing novelty domains. So he had a Uniregistry is his company, and he had, I think, other companies. Google purchased some of his company a couple of years ago. So they bought a lot of the novelty domain business off of him. And, he is a very kind of flashy guy. I got to admit, I enjoy looking at his Instagram account because there's always a fast car on there, a new car. I don't know how many cars the dude owns, but it seems like a lot. And he lives this life. He obviously plays hard, works hard, and plays equally hard. And his son is actually a fan of the show, a fan of the CMR platform, I should say. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, the GoDaddy transaction happened a couple of years ago. We covered it on CMR for sure. So they don't own Uniregistry, but they purchased parts of his, at the time, his business. And he has a new baby and a new girlfriend. I think they've been together for a couple of years. So in February 2020, the deal was announced with GoDaddy, where they purchased a lot of his business. So I'm sure he made a pretty penny from that acquisition. And now he's looking to invest in a lot of development here in the Cayman Islands. So he's getting into the sister islands, and he wants to build all sorts of stuff. So he's talked about building a port, a marina, a village. Sounds awfully familiar to what Dart did. A village on Cayman Brac. He should know Cayman Brac is not going to be up for that. I don't know who. I don't know. Like, hear me out here. Frank, if you're listening to the show, pay attention to what I'm going to tell you. Okay? People like Frank, the Darts of the world, when they come to the Cayman Islands, I know they have their entourage of people that they employ, but what they should do, if they're really smart people, is employ Caymanians who can give you a reality check. Caymanians who can say to you, Frank, don't go into an interview with the Compass where you talk about your desire to have a 20-story building, because he's saying that eventually he wants to go up to 20 stories. So he wants to do 3 high-rise towers in Georgetown, eventually going up to 20 stories. Who in their right mind would have told Frank that this was a good idea? And you get on, on the Compass paper and you say this and you put this out in the world. It isn't a good idea. It's not even a good idea to say it. It's not even a good idea to think it. It's crazy. And it also demonstrates that you do not understand the Cayman Islands, right? Most people don't come here because they want to see a 20-story tower. I hope y'all understand this is an island. We're not going to make this another Hong Kong where you have the smallest square footage of space and you're going to, because you only can build so much out this way. And I get from a developmental perspective why you have to go up, but there has to be a limit on how far you go up. If you want to go up 20 stories, this is the kind of thing then you think about other places like New York, Miami, or you can go up 20 stories plus. You can go up to 50 stories if you want. I would think that the Caribbean as a whole just isn't into that sort of thing. And definitely not the Cayman Islands, right? So I do feel like they need to hire some, I don't know what you call them, Caymanian advisors, some Bobo and TD advisors, to just kind of tell you and give you advice on, okay, I'm thinking this is a great idea. I want to pursue this. What do you think? Caymanian being like, no, Bobo, that's not gonna work. That's not a good idea at all. Nobody's gonna support that. So I saw even in the women's group, somebody posted the story there, and some of the comments were like, I didn't move to the Cayman Islands to see a 20-story building. It's a horrible idea, quite frankly. And here are some of the comments that I got. Someone sent this one yesterday at 2:53. Let me screen grab it because I feel like y'all be thinking that I make this stuff up. You're like, nope, that's Sandy's opinion. Nobody told her that. That's why I like to give you proof. Hold on, I'm going to screenshot this. We'll save this one as Frank, not the Bobo, because this is just batshit crazy. Frank, it's not a good idea. You have to understand the context in which you're operating, right? People are not as friendly towards big developers as they used to be in the Cayman Islands because they're kind of sick of this sort of thing happening. So here we go. This was forwarded, so I don't know the source. It says, let him give Dart a run for his money as we sit around and wonder when it will ever stop. No longer our problem, it seems. It's now a competition for the super rich to see how quickly they can outrun each other in destroying this little 2x4 island while maximizing their profits. And try to install and improve the infrastructure. Not single public space. No, I think maybe that's supposed to be no single public space. Where you can take a piss or rest up under in shade. I can just imagine how the beloved tourist must feel after walking around aimlessly in that hot sun for a few hours with blades bursting and young kids and elderly parents in tow. Fix what you have before compounding the situation. That was some of the comments from yesterday. Let me give you some of the comments that are coming in right now on WhatsApp. So people are going to speculate. Hear this one now. I didn't know he was related to him. Somebody said he's better off building 21 stories. Oh, God. All right, here's this one. Info for you. The brown that is there with Shillings is a cousin of Kurt Tibbetts. They are? Okay. You learn something new every day. Any wonder why he's involved? Kurt has his fingers in there somewhere. Apparently, Kurt is like a Don Juan of developers, is what I hear through the grapevine. Since retiring from politics, the story on the street is that Kurt is like a consultant for a lot of people who are willing or who are trying to get projects pushed through under the progressives regime. And so some of them are paying him big money with these consulting contracts to make sure that their projects got preferential, view at least, if not preferential approval. They go on to say Frank's idea is selfish. He wants to buy properties cheaply and build high buildings rather than more properties and smaller buildings. This is his idea of economics. Well, I'm sure it makes good economic sense for him to definitely go up, especially when you have limited land mass. And, I understand the concept of building up, but there has to be a limit. So this other person says Dart's ultimate idea is to move our capital from Georgetown to Camana Bay, while Frank wants to revitalize Georgetown. I don't think that that's, I don't know, that sounds a bit altruistic, and I don't think that that's the motive for either thing. I mean, Dart actually has a lot of property in town. So he's invested. I would still want to say that Dart is the largest property owner in Georgetown Central, because he owns quite a few buildings where Margaritaville is, the back end of that, the front end, all that real estate there in town is all Dart, all the little touristy shops and whatever. He owns a good deal of that. If the Colonels don't own it, then Dart owns it. And now Frank owns a few pieces. Starbucks is in that building, and they have some office spaces and stuff in there as well. I think people can have business ideas, and I guess, the rich are always looking at how to make more money and how to become richer. But it does occur to me that they need to probably have a think about more than just that. Thank you, Damien. Thank you, Miss Sue. Emma says, I prefer standard cars, but Cayman roads aren't designed for manual transmissions. Yeah, that's a whole other argument. Oh, yes. Thank you, El Ray. I'm a woman, El Ray. I don't know nothing about cars. You're right. It was a Ford Escort. Did I say Toyota? No, it wasn't a Toyota. A Ford Escort. Yeah. El Ray says, no more land in town. You got to go up instead of out. Yes, I agree. The question is, how far up do you go? I don't believe 20 stories is where we should be going in any event. We're now at 10, and I feel like 10 is enough in terms of the landscape, of how it changes the landscape. Not only does it change the landscape, but when you go 20 stories up, you need to have the infrastructure to be able to deal with things, because heaven forbid there's a fire on the 20th story of that building. You need a fire truck and a fire engine that can go up that high. And I'm always curious when government starts to consider these types of proposals, like, oh, let's approve going up to 10 stories. Who pays for the new fire trucks that have to be ordered to the tune of millions of dollars that can actually handle a 10-story or 20-story structure. That's government. That's coming out of the public purse. These million and billionaires aren't like, oh, government, let me write you a check for $25 million donation to upgrade your fire equipment, since I'm the one who wants to go up 20 stories. That doesn't normally happen. Everybody's trying to look out for themselves, and the rich want to get richer. I understand it. I'm not knocking it, but I think you have to do it in a sustainable way, and there has to be controls in place. Moya's taking the very selfish approach here. She's like, listen, we can barely make it up 5 sets of stairs when the elevator's down. I would die going up 20. Well, it sounds funny to say that, Moya, but what about when you have an emergency situation and you're not allowed to use the elevator? Earthquakes and other things. You better be able to get down 20 stories. And if you're handicapped or you have some sort of disability, that's a problem. Carol is thinking along the lines of what I was just thinking about, the infrastructure. So Carol says we don't have the infrastructure for more high-rise buildings, roads, waste disposal, sewage. You guys need to go and have a look at how Hong Kong was developed and how people are literally living in shoeboxes in Hong Kong. And it's the most expensive real estate in the world. But it's not a good thing when people say it's the most expensive real estate in the world. There is a who was it that did a story on this? There's a YouTube video from Vice, I think it was, that looked at the housing. And let me show you this. Let me show you guys this. So Hong Kong ranks as one of the most expensive housing markets in the world. And from when I look at it, I'm thinking, that's the dream. That's an eyesore. But that when rich people go into Hong Kong, this isn't where they're staying. They're not having to deal with, let me show you this. What on earth is that? That's ridiculous. Ugh. You're like literally living in a shoebox on top of another shoebox on top of another shoebox. Look at them. They have to hang clothes outside. This is an eyesore. I don't know exactly who finds this sort of thing attractive. And they still have a housing crisis. And all they can figure out to do, their only solution, because they've kind of gotten it wrong, I feel like from day one, is to build more high rises. And the Chinese, I guess, are like, yeah, let's keep going higher. These are called cage homes. Urban hell. Oh my God. The cage homes of Hong Kong. This is where the average person in Hong Kong can afford to live, because it's so expensive. And the inside, let me show you all a picture here. You eat and sleep and do everything in one little, you don't get to see any daylight. This is just disgusting, actually. This picture isn't the best quality, but it'll give you an inside view. They probably couldn't even get the camera to focus because it was such a small space, right? 290 square feet temporary homes. It's just absolutely crazy. And this is, a lot of people say to you, this is what happens when you have no development plan, You have no idea where you're going with this. And you allow someone to come in and start saying, oh, well, let's start going up 20 stories. Look at this. Look at this little, that's his bed, his eating area, little miniature TV, everything in one. See him charging the cell phone. He's got a little power strip there. The fan is plugged into it. The TV is plugged into it. One little light, paint dropping off the wall. Got his little suit there ready to put on. What kind of quality of life is this? This isn't why you moved to an island. Look at this. The kitchen is right next to the toilet. That's disgusting. But when you allow development to kind of run amok and no one's saying, hold on, you know, we need to have population control because that's actually a thing, believe it or not. And we need to have some sort of infrastructure in place, some rules. Then developers do kind of come in and run the show a little bit. So Sue says, hope the government stops him. Well, we can't necessarily leave it up to the government. That's why people need to be informed. That's why you need to educate yourselves. And again, I don't know who informed Frank that this was a fantastic idea. The Compass even had a little article of his twin towers, Monaco towers, or whatever, saying, you know, he wants this 10-story building. It'll be the first in Georgetown with a supermarket on the ground floor, 6 stories of parking integrated into the design. You know, he's got all sorts of very interesting ideas. I'm always curious as to how these people come up with these ideas. You know, they're working with architects and they're doing a lot as it relates to city planning. They're basically going to change the landscape of your entire community. So he's proposing to change the landscape of Georgetown. And at the same time, you have the government through the Revitalization Committee running another project. And I'm wondering if the two are talking to each other. Has the Revitalization Committee, headed up by Mr. Lumsden, had a conversation with any of the property owners? I mean, I was asking this a couple weeks ago when we talked about the fact that they're closing off Cardinal Avenue. Have they spoken to any of the business owners in that area to see what their future plans are, what they think they're going to get approved for, and where they're going? And, you know, this is the first I'm hearing about all these plans by Shillings and the supermarket and this and that. And why do we need a supermarket in Georgetown again? Help me understand this. The little mom and pop stores are not enough because you got about 4 of those in a very small radius right around the courthouse. You've got the Indian shop, the Chinese shop by Anderson Square. You've got a little Canadian one there that has opened up in the Fort Street building. And where else is there a little mom and pop? Right in central town. Clem's, Uncle Clem's, I think, is around the corner on Mary Street. Solomon's Grocery. So there's a lot of, like, you can walk to all those. They're not far. Little mom and pop shops. So now you're going to do what? Open up a 10,000 square foot grocery store? For who? Because nobody lives in town, really, except the locals. And the locals don't go shopping in the middle of the day like that in central town. Like, it seems very weird. Like, I don't know what building he's referring to that he's going to be putting this grocery store in, but, you know, the plan is just build it and they will come. You build it and people will show up. So more retail and commercial space. It says here on the bottom, 2 floors, office space on the upper floors. He has no current plans for residential components, but said that could change. That would be quite a revitalization of Georgetown. And he says, it stressed that he So these are long-term plans that will be developed over time based on demand. And he's not sought planning permission at this point and is some years away from doing so. So he's got Monaco 1, 2, and 3, because I think I see 1 and 2. Where's 3? Not quite sure I'm understanding the vision here. Oh, I'm sorry. Not a 10,000 square foot supermarket, which I thought would have been big enough. It is an 18,000 square foot supermarket. Okay. And we need an 18,000 square foot supermarket in town? Well, he must know something we don't know about the revitalization. DART is $5 billion. Shilling is $500 million. Like I said, it's not quite the same kind of money at all. Give me 1 second, folks. My sinuses are a little bit irritated today. All right, let me read your comments. Damien says namesilo.com is a quarter of the price. For what domains? No one can give you a .ky but him, by the way. I'm not sure why Offra gave that up. ICT at the time, they gave up the Keyman domain to a private entity to run. Do they get a percentage of that? Does Offra get paid money off of every domain that he sells? How and why was that deal inked? I don't know. It's a bit unusual. Emma says construction bidders love the idea, and others too who will fatten their pockets and don't give a crap about our future. Free testing, CC? I don't know. Check the HSA's website. They should be able to tell you. Bonnie says at least he made his money here legally. Who made their money legally? There's no insinuation that anyone has made illegal money. Who are we talking about, though? I don't even know who we're talking about. Are we talking about Frank Schilling? I don't think he made his money here. He's maybe making more money here. Are we talking about Kurt Tibbetts? I'm not really sure who we're talking about. So Damon says, where are you going to put the parking? Well, apparently the parking is going to be integrated into the building. So there's going to be several floors of parking. So yes, the premier was talking about this the last time he was on his show, Flashpoint. And let me stress again that Frank hasn't sought any planning approval for this. This is just his, I guess, wish list of things he wants to do. Ms. Sue says, who's going to tell him and stop him? Well, I think the people just need to be informed, and y'all need to wake up. Because if this is a type of model that you don't want, some of you know Frank well. I think he hangs out with Mario and other developers. Well, Mario isn't a developer, but Mario is a hang-along. So I think the two of them hang out with each other for drinks and that sort of thing. And he says he's looking out for the people over there on his platform. So hopefully he's telling Frank that this is the worst idea ever. I'm not really sure. But you have to be really clear about what you want. And our elected officials need to also be very clear about what we, the people, want. And none of us are in favor of 20-story buildings. Magdalene, that was my question as well. I don't know. Who knows what the plan is? Oh, I think I'm woefully behind on your comments. Let me try to get caught up. Who's going to occupy these buildings? Carol? I think they're operating in a you build it and they will come kind of mentality. Aliana says as an island 76 square miles, we have to take into account what we are. Beaches, swamps, and iron shore construction is nice, but common sense is needed here. 20 stories, like really? Flashpoint says if you have money, you can do whatever you want. I think that's changing, Flashpoint. I do not believe that that's the case anymore. And I mean, I do get that when planning turns down an application, a lot of developers do lawyer up and they find a way to still try to push it through. So, yeah. Miranda wants to know if they're trying to sink the island. Good morning, Louisa. Yeah, it sounds a little bit mad, Debbie. So El Rey says at least 20% of the floors have to be for parking. So that's the current planning regulations. Miss Sue is asking about Royal Palms. I have not been there. What's going on with it? I mean, obviously, Miss Sue, there would have been plans for Royal Palms that was then halted because of the pandemic. So they had to let staff go and shut down. And to be fair to Dart, though, he does build, from my observations, structures and buildings that are to a particular quality, and he maintains his properties. And so I haven't been to Royal Palms, so I can't speak to that, but I would say in that instance, it's probably a major renovation that has to occur. And because of the pandemic, that probably has been put on hold. Because Dart is the Ritz. He just did a major renovation there of that property. He's got the Kimpton. He's got, what's the other hotel? The one that's closer to town. Something Sweet, Sunshine. Is it Sunshine Suites? So that one was recently, I think, redone as well. So I suppose, Sue, even when you're a billionaire, you got to think about how you're redoing your properties and where you're putting your money. And maybe, you know, that particular property was on the bucket list of things to get done, but it got put on hold. I don't know. So Carol says the Shamshupu, is that how it's pronounced, district in Kowloon is the most densely packed area in the world. And we're not looking for that. That's not the Caymanian way of life, first of all. Debbie says it's so bad in Hong Kong, they actually rent dog cages for people to sleep in. Wow. Disgusting. Ugh. A dog cage. Lord have mercy. But when you look at these pictures, you can definitely see why they would have to do that. There's a very interesting, like I said, video some years ago about this on YouTube. I'll try to find it. But y'all need to understand how the rest of the world is operating. And if you don't want that for the Cayman Islands, then you've got to be very, very careful what you allow in, who you allow in, and what you allow them to do. Gabby says, talk about trapped in the closet. No, sir. They're not approving it, Debbie, because it hasn't even gotten to them. So that's not really what's happening here. This is someone planting the seed. You know, when they talk about that mustard seed. El Rey says, don't stress on ourselves. We're getting it sooner or later. Is it inevitable? You know, it's like the population growth. Will Cayman eventually get to 100,000 no matter what we do? Or can we put things in place that will control our population? Well, I think it depends on what you want, honestly, for your people, because everybody is like, I need to make more money. Even the tour operators, more money, more money, more money. Well, how you get more money is you have more people, even on the tourist side. Let's not think about residential people living here. But on the tourist side, you get more money because you keep increasing the numbers. You increase your tourism numbers. Or you increase the amount of dollars they're spending. And this is where the argument of cruise tourism versus stayover became really, really important. So we know that the previous administration was constantly pushing to build the cruise docks, the cruise port. And they are the cheapest travelers in the world. They want to be able to spend $2,500 on a cruise and come in and enjoy everything on the island, inclusive in that $2,500. And that is, folks, how cruises operate. They operate on numbers. So yes, it's all you can eat and all you can drink for a flat price, because then they can pack in 8,000 people on one ship or more. And that's why they keep building these mega ships. There's no end in sight for the cruise ships. Bigger, let's do it bigger. And with bigger comes more pollution. We're talking about sustainability of the ocean. My God, cruise ships are horrible for marine life, horrible for the ocean, horrible for what they emit into the air, because they're floating around. They're like, there was something the other day, I have to find this statistic, that was talking about they're like the equivalent of a city floating around on the high seas in terms of what they emit into the environment. All the waste off of that ship has to go somewhere. And some of them, Carnival Cruise Lines and so on, have been in court so many times for illegal dumping of sewage and other black matter that we don't even know what the hell it is into the water. So Natasha says, go out east. East End, North Side, the outer districts need a little bit more. Marshall reminds us that the Kirkernels and Comart supermarkets are once in town, and they're no longer in town, so it's obvious that there's no need for a supermarket, especially of that size. So I don't know. It's just very bizarre. I'm not quite sure that I get all the concepts unless Frank knows something that we don't know, which is it's entirely possible. I don't see how a lot of this makes a lot of sense. And this is why I keep saying that the idea of having a real local person on your team who's going to be honest with you, you know, even if you have them hired as a consultant, yes, you're paying them money, but they're not going to be swayed by the money in terms of the advice that they're going to give you. So Frank, they're going to be honest with you and say, Frank, that's actually a really horrible idea. The people are not going to accept that sort of thing. Might be useful to seek out such an individual. Just be careful who you hire to do the job. Miss Morna says he needs to go to Africa and help them. We're not a state, we're a country. I'm not sure what that means, Miss Morna. Normally those words are interchangeable. All they're doing is turning Cayman into a concrete jungle. Caymanians, we need to take a stand, and now. I don't know about sending them to Africa. Africa might not want this kind of development either. But yeah, I mean, people just, yeah, Mary, that was one of the things that we discussed already. And that was one of my first thoughts is we don't have the fire equipment for that. And one of the observations that I made is I never see private sector, all these billionaires saying, I'm going to give government by way of donation, $45 million to ward infrastructure development. If they do anything, it's a trade-off. Like, you got to give me this to get that. And, you know, you want a 20-story building? Well, I don't think we should go in that direction anyway. But when we went up to 10 stories, who paid for that? The people paid for that, Mary, unfortunately. So Ms. Sue says that Royal Palms looks like a dump. No. The premier was talking about sustainability. And he is this is the first government to actually include sustainability in the environment as really a key component of a ministry which falls under him. So when he was on last time, he was talking about some of the initiative in relation to that. This is a bit of a different situation. And I want to again stress that in the article, it doesn't say that any of this has been approved. It doesn't say it's been taken to planning. It doesn't even say that he's spoken to a politician, gotten any buy-in. In fact, he says at one point that the extent to which government is on board with his long-term vision, well, this is what the compass says, is not clear. It points out that 2 government ministers, the tourism minister, Kenneth Bryan, and innovation minister, Andre Ebanks, were present last week for the Starbucks opening, at which they both suggested the project had potential significance for long-held plans to revitalize Georgetown. Which project? The 20-story project? That it's not entirely clear. So he says that the diminished size of land parcels in Georgetown and the fact that many plots are owned collectively by multiple individuals makes it difficult to acquire land to develop. Well, Frank, I got a piece of land for you. You ready for this? The Moringa Town. You know, town is going to continue to push out. This is right behind Maples. Maples wants it for parking, but they're trying to come in too cheap. But Moringa Town is up for sale. Offer the right price, and it probably could be yours. Someone says, oh, Lord, with FS and his doing something downtown because no one else is. FS report, meaning Frank Shillings. Please open your eyes. Things are being done. We're just not blabbing, it to the compass and posting all over social media. And FS is no Kevin Costner. Just because he builds it doesn't mean that they're going to come. That's funny. That is a very funny comment. All right, let me work my brain around this comment now. Okay, let me share this one with you guys. Okay, I'm trying to understand this one. That last one was funny though. Good morning, Miss Loretta. Gabby says they've already ruined 7 Mile Beach. Now they're stressing and worried about beach erosion. They only see dollar signs. Oh, Louis, they're still there. The fishermen and the waterfront are still there, but I haven't heard anything lately about that landowner who wants to kick them off of that little slither of land to introduce his own project. Again, the last government dropped the ball. They claimed that they were going to put a peppercorn lease in place. And to the best of my knowledge, they never signed it. Making y'all promises that they couldn't keep. And still y'all talking about that was the best. Alton was the best thing for the Cayman Islands. Well, his administration said that the fishermen would be safe. They'd be okay. Don't worry about it. We've agreed to peppercorn lease, and then they never signed it. What's the saying? A promise is a comfort to a fool. Y'all being hoodwinked left, right, and center. Mary thinks he purchased these buildings and land with a vision and most likely discussions before purchasing. Exactly like you said, he most likely knows something that we don't. Good morning, Annette. Linda, how are you? People with private helicopters don't worry about climate change and hurricanes. They can fly over whenever they want. What about everybody else when the next one comes? We all have to care, though, about the environment. Like, I don't get why people think the environment or the loss of it doesn't impact them. Mrs. Morton is having a good laugh. All right, this comment says, think if the governmental move to have Georgetown designed as a city during the Jubilee celebration, and again, That was something that came out of the governor's office, but I don't know what they mean by city. I don't even know what that means. It's already a city. So what's the exact definition and what does that mean? It's a good question. You have a perfect argument there. Developers get subsidies and we the people pay for concessions. Someone needs to tell government. Yep. These hotels on the West Bay Beach are the cause of the loss of sand on the beach. And when you're here, I will explain. Yes, this is someone that I do need to go see. The sand will never come back unless it is imported. Ooh. Miss Sue says, so if Kenneth Bryan and Andre were there celebrating, then that says something to me. Well, I think that as ministers of, I guess, tourism and innovation, they're there to open Starbucks, and maybe they think that that's a good, Starbucks, I'm not saying anything else, is a good idea. We would have to ask them what their presence meant, because I honestly don't know. They're probably just there because they got invited to cut a ribbon for the Starbucks opening. Mary, good morning again. She says maybe he's already promised to equip the fire service with new equipment. Again, like you said, usually when they give, they want something in return, not saying that this happened. However, it is common practice, and I pray this government doesn't allow it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we foot the bill for these sorts of things. We foot the bill for the infrastructure development, the sewage development, everything that has to happen around, increasing development, expansion, population increase, and those sorts of things. Even our hospital, we've only got so many beds. The hospital is difficult to expand where it is. They're trying to acquire, like I think they're in Smith Road. I don't think government has purchased Smith Road, but they seem to be expanding more and more in the Smith Road Plaza there. A lot of the auxiliary services that the HSA has to provide, such as the pharmacy and other things, have now moved from the central location. This just isn't a good idea. I don't know if it's just a pipe dream or whatever. Gabby says, do people in Cayman drink Starbucks like that? You know what? I don't honestly know, because I don't drink Starbucks. Even when I lived in the States, I'm just not a Starbucks person. If I've been to Starbucks 5 times in my life, that's plenty. Number one, I don't drink coffee. So Starbucks has less of an appeal. Number two, I've just never been I'm not Starbucks crazy like some people. I do drink hot chocolate and other things. So I do like a caramel cappuccino. What is the ice one's called? The macchiato, caramel macchiato, whatever. I get those from the other place, not Starbucks. Cafe del Sol. And I like Cafe del Sol. And I kind of feel a little bit loyal to Cafe del Sol as well. Not to say that I might not go into Starbucks necessarily and get a drink, but there's a Cafe del Sol right in Lower Valley. So I just go there if I feel like something. I did see a lady going to court one day last week, and she had a drink in her hand, and it looked interesting. I said, oh, what is that? And she said it was like a raspberry something drink from Starbucks. And she added something to it. So she's like, if you get it, tell them to add this thing. I can't even remember. Listen, it's a company, great. It's a Caymanian that has Johnny Brown. Is that his name? Jason Brown, sorry, that has ownership in it. So, I guess we're happy for Caymanians who are expanding and doing different things. I'm looking at a picture here of their coffee chain, Perks Up Georgetown. I'm looking at their staff. Looks like one person might be a Caymanian, maybe two. So I don't know. We didn't get it. By the way, we didn't get an invite to their little grand opening ceremony. Cafe del Sol used to be in town, and then they stole that location from them. They kicked them out of Camana Bay, and then they stole the location for them right across from Hero Square as well. It's so interesting. Starbucks has moved into the locations where Cafe del Sol has vacated. So they took the Camana Bay location, which I never felt good about that, I must tell you. And then they kicked them out of town for another jewelry store, as though Georgetown needs another jewelry store. A little bit of karma has happened there because of the shutdown. The jewelry store hasn't even opened because they're mostly interested in the tourist business. Do you really take a cruise to buy jewelry? I've always wondered this. Why do these cruise destinations such as Cayman Islands focus so much on jewelry? I've never actually been on a cruise because I'm not really, I think I'll do it once in my life. Like maybe I'll do like an Alaskan cruise and say, oh yeah, I've done like a high-end cruise. I ain't going on no Caribbean cruise with 10,000 other people jammed into one little ship. And, but I've always wondered about this. Do you go on a cruise to buy jewelry? Because we have so many jewelry stores out there and they're all targeting cruise ship passengers. I'm like, is that a thing? Like you come back from a cruise and you got like 50 bags of, ooh, I got my diamond necklace. I got my emeralds. I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, I guess if that's what people do, that's what they do. So poor Cafe del Sol. I don't know what happened at that location, but obviously their lease didn't get renewed. And they closed that one in 2019. Now they still have 2 locations, Cafe del Sol. So they're in Savannah, and then they've got the one, the original one off of West Bay Road. Oh, yes. So Monaco Towers, the law school is in that building. So technically the Cayman Islands government is a tenant of Schillings. But, I think the law school has been there for quite some time before he would have even purchased the building. I don't know. You have other coffee shops in walk-in areas. So I'm at Bluestone Cafe almost every day. Listen, Bluestone is my coffee shop in town. I can sit there and relax. I probably, now that I'm talking about Starbucks, maybe I will actually go inside because I want to see what's going on. So I'll just walk in. I don't know if I'll get anything, but I'll walk in to see what's going on. But there is the Daily Grind, which I forget is still in business. They're still there upstairs. And there's Bluestone. Bluestone is really busy because Bluestone has some good food. They're not just a coffee shop, but they actually have like a full little menu of all sorts of stuff on their menu as well. And it's a good location. Like sometimes I have meetings there. It's really easy. Easy if you can find parking, because there's no such thing as easy parking in town. Let me tell you, that's a whole other story. Good morning, Miss Maria. Damien says they don't forget no equality for employment and rely on NAU. Government needs to concentrate on building the roads through to Frank Sound. Any news on that? The NRA, we could certainly ask them that question because that's a question for them. So I understand that this government is increasing the NRA's budget so that they can get some of these things done. Somebody else says that their coffee is not even that good, that Cafe del Sol is better and it's overpriced and overrated. Well, like I said, I don't drink coffee, so I can't speak to that one way or the other, to be quite frank. I do not know anything about the coffee situation. I don't even honestly like the smell of coffee. Something like, oh, that aroma of coffee. I'm like, ew. Linda says in Australia, Starbucks couldn't make it because their coffee's so bad. They had good quality coffee shops there. Not sure why the government officials are using public time to celebrate a foreign entity displacing local great coffee shops. Well, I think in all fairness to Starbucks, it is still It still has a Caymanian partner in the business. I don't know who else he owns it with. I think it's probably part of the Caribbean ownership, which comes out of Jamaica. So they're probably the minority owners, but I'm assuming the Caymanian owner has a 60% interest. And, you know, government officials, listen, they get an invite for ribbon cutting. It's like a ceremonial thing. They just show up. I don't think they probably think too much about the implications of the business, as long as it's like a legit business. And, you know, there are people who obviously love them at Starbucks. Did we have a Starbucks here before across the courthouse? No, that was Cafe del Sol. So the very first Starbucks, and remember CMR actually broke that story back in, when was that? I feel like it was 2009. Let me see. We broke the story that they were actually coming to the Cayman Islands. And we also broke the story that they were going to be in Camana Bay. They were taking the lease away from, this was September of 2019. Our headline says Cafe del Sol loses Camana Bay location to Starbucks. And that was October of 2018. My apologies. And then I see here, let me show you guys this. That it was July of 2018 that we dropped the news that Starbucks was coming to the Cayman Islands after they went to Jamaica in 2017. How is the one doing in Jamaica, by the way? Is that like a hot thing? Why is this showing up twice? This is a bit strange. Starbucks now in Jamaica. I need to share my website, guys, because the story shouldn't be there twice. I don't know. One was done. They both were written at the same time, but updated differently. Huh, that's weird. All right. Looks like a little website fix. So ironically, it was 2019, September of 2019, September 11th, no less, that Cafe del Sol announced that they were closing to make way for another jewelry store. And ironically, that jewelry store has yet to open up. Maybe a little bit of bad karma, if you believe in karma, which I don't necessarily believe in karma, but not in that sense. I believe that, you know, shit just happens. So there you have it. They still haven't opened up. Huh, interesting. I'm going to send this to my web guy before I forget. Why we'd have two of the same story. All right. Dart treated Cafe del Sol terribly. Yes, I tend to agree with that sentiment. And then I also think that, well, I suppose that companies, including landlords, have a right to say who they want to rent their businesses to. So they have a right to say, you know, we want another tenant who we see as a better anchor for, because let's be honest, a big name like Starbucks probably does bring in certain clientele. I suppose when you go on vacation, you don't want to try things local. You want to go to your name brands that you're familiar with. I don't know. So Dart made a business decision. I think a lot of people didn't like it, like Carol. But yeah. Jason Brown does employ young Caymanians, but I've been in Camana Bay. When I've been in Camana Bay Starbucks. Okay. Like I said, I've been in there like literally once. Samboko. Yes. Samboko. It's so funny that there's a Samboko and this plaza by Cafe del Sol. And there's also one on the West Bay Road. Oh, Carolina says, don't forget bread and coffee. Do they do bread and chocolate? Sorry. Do they do coffee in there though? They're more like healthy eating. And you know what? Can I tell you about bread and chocolate? They make this phenomenal. I've only had it once and I can't get it out of my head. It was so good. It's a nachos, and I can't remember what they make the nachos from, but it's like a nacho dip dish. They do it as a special sometimes. Oh my God. It was like the best nachos I've ever had, ever. So Vanessa agrees that Cafe del Sol are the best. Oh Lord. Louis, they're pretty much free to come in. I think they've changed the lateral flow testing that's required to fewer days. Yeah, I don't think that it's I think that the concept, oh my God, look at the rain. Ugh. I think that the concept of karma doesn't always work in the way that we think. So definitely, I believe in consequences. I believe that when you do things, there are consequences, good, bad, and indifferent consequences. But there have been some horrible people the world over who've done things and they never suffer a day in their lives. It's like the guy who, was involved in the Holocaust, killing innocent Jews just because they were Jewish. And he lives to be 100 years old. I'm like, where the hell is his karma? Well, everybody says, oh, but there's an afterlife. Well, damn, if you got to wait 100 years plus to then get your karma in the afterlife, is that really karma? You know what I mean? I think there are consequences, and sometimes people skirt around the consequences just because life has been, they've had a little bit of luck, I suppose. So I don't know. But anyway, folks, I'm going to end the show a little bit early. I'm looking at this downpour. So remember at the beginning, I was joking that we're going to have 20% rain. That's just gone up to 60% rain, chance of rain, and it is pouring outside. I do have a meeting at 10 o'clock that I need to get to. That's I've been trying to schedule for months and months and months and months since last year. So someone said there's almost 10 Starbucks locations in Jamaica. Wow. So that means that Jamaicans have really embraced it then, I guess. Wow. They also have a population of like 10 million people, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay. There you go. What a mess. Mary will have the last say of the day. To clear the air, sometimes we speculate or will be termed as being negative and not positive. But when we have when we've seen firsthand what happens, this is a reason for speculation. Most times our speculations are correct, but hopefully this vision doesn't happen. I'm sure with some of us, with some of who this is will affect supermarkets, etc. It might not. Yeah, it's okay if someone thinks I'm not being positive, speaking it like I've seen it happen. All right, here's the score. Frank, you're welcome to come on the program. I do have his WhatsApp number. I'll send him an invite. Maybe he can explain it to us. Maybe he can explain where the vision came from. Yeah, that's called consequences, child. Marshall, trust me. He's going to have a lot of consequences for his bad behavior. We should talk about him. We haven't spoken about Trump in a long time, but the dude was like shredding documents. Did you guys see that story? They were shredding documents. He was taking documents home to his Mar-a-Lago property, government and White House documents, and destroying them at home. That dude was just running amok. I cannot believe anyone, even if you like some of his policies and you think, oh, he's for businesses and he was making us money, you can't ignore everything else that the man was doing wrong, which was a lot. It can't just be about the money, man. It's like he was destroying so much stuff. Oh my God. Not just papers. I mean, the environment, like everything. Anyway, I've got a meeting, and given this weather, traffic is probably still out there, and I'm going to drive a little bit slower. So I want to give myself a lot of time. So I'm going to be there at 10 o'clock. So we're going to end this show a little bit early. I'm congested today. Weather doesn't help. And then tomorrow we can pick up our discussions. Tomorrow's Friday. I want to talk about Chelsea Chris a little bit tomorrow as well. So tune in for that. We now know a little bit more about her situation. We also know a bit more about what killed Bob Seger, the comedian. And it wasn't what I thought it was. So tune in tomorrow's show. We can talk about that situation as well. Folks, today's Thursday. So it would be a miss of me to not mention this event, which is going to be aired here on Zoom this evening. Today is February the 10th. It is called Unspeakable. and it's all about confronting child sexual abuse in the Cayman Islands. So there's going to be both a documentary rescreening followed by an interactive panel discussion from representatives from a number of different agencies. So please, please, please set your little phone reminders to tune in this evening at 6:30 p.m. We will simulcast it here on CMR so that all of you can watch it and learn how we need to protect our children at all costs. The why and the how. Being informed is the most important thing, folks. So please ensure that you tune in for that at 6:30 this evening. And thanks to all of the parties who planned that event and who have made it possible to have that. So you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful Thursday, and we will certainly see you all tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.